Talk about.
Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Dear brothers and sisters, I hope everybody is well and in the best of Iman. We've got a very, very special show today with a fantastic organization that's doing some brilliant work locally in Newham. I hope everyone's Ramadan is going well. I think this is the second Rosa where it's that extra hour, so that last hour's quite difficult for everyone. I was saying this to my cousins yesterday as well, that last hour, because we're used to opening at 6:30, that last hour might be a bit of a struggle, but we've got some fantastic guests today, so I hope that they will keep yourselves, inshallah, entertained. If I can start with my left over here, and if I can request everyone to just briefly introduce themselves, and then we will move forward with the quick fire round, inshallah. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ismail. I've been working with Newham Community Project for almost 4 years now.
MashaAllah.
I currently lead the casework team and also do work with the projects team as well.
Fantastic.
So my responsibility is to support our beneficiaries who come through us with a problem, and then we would allocate them accordingly and come up with a solution and see how we can support them.
Brilliant, mashallah. And to the gentleman in the center, mashallah.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. My name is Ilyas. I'm born and bred Yorkshireman.
Mashallah. Whereabouts in Yorkshire?
Place called Dewsbury.
Dewsbury,
Yes.
oh, yes. Dewsbury Sharif. Dewsbury Sharif.
I'm sure a lot of you know Dewsbury Sharif. Yes. Yeah, I founded the organization, a Newham Community Project, in 2018, which is 15 years ago now.
2008.
2008. 8, sorry.
Yes.
2000, I'll get my notes.
No, that is going to
2008. So
Mashallah.
that's 15 years ago, alhamdulillah.
Mashallah.
We're doing a lot of things in the community.
Fantastic. We'll get into
Yeah.
the individual projects. And last but not least, the sister, mashallah, could you introduce yourself as well?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Zaina, and I've been working with Newham Community Project since the beginning of the pandemic, supporting people basically with no recourse to public funds.
Fantastic. So Newham Community Project, for those that are interested, even if you just to Google them, there's a lot of work that they're doing, but we will go into specifics. I'd like to start with my legendary quickfire round, if I could. So these are very, very basic questions, but you have to answer them. There's no thinking time allowed in this. So it's 2 options. You pick whichever one you prefer first. So I'm just going to start with everyone. If you could, everyone could answer them for me. Brother Ismail, morning person or evening person?
Evening person.
Ismail Bhai?
Evening person.
Baji?
Morning.
Morning person. Okay. Would you rather hit the gym or read a book?
Probably read a book.
Hit the gym.
Yeah, you look like you hit the gym. Baji?
Book.
Read a book.
Definitely.
Okay. Not desi at all, but tea or coffee?
Tea.
Black coffee.
Black coffee. You're my man. No, black coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. Okay. Gulab jamun or barfi?
Gulab jamun.
Gulab jamun.
Both.
Both. Okay. No, you have to pick one.
Gulab
The
jamun.
gulab jamun. Okay. Halwa or kheer?
Do I have to choose between?
You have to
You're
choose the
thinking,
one.
you're thinking,
Yeah.
you can't
It's
think.
Eid day. It's Eid morning.
Kheer,
You've just
eh?
come back and read Eid namaz. What
Well,
are you
then
having?
it's kheer, definitely.
Then it's a kheer.
Kheer, definitely.
Kheer.
These are very difficult questions.
Difficult questions. They're gonna
Yes.
get difficult, more difficult. Yeah.
Kheer.
Kheer. Okay. Desi breakfast or English breakfast?
English breakfast, tea and biscuit.
Don't do breakfast.
You don't do breakfast. You're like me. Literally, you're like me.
Desi.
So desi breakfast, the halwa puri and the whole
Halwa
shebang.
puri, paratha.
Oh, mashallah. Okay. Desi food or Turkish cuisine?
Definitely desi.
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 Desi. Okay, we've got desi board over here. Okay, football or cricket?
Cricket.
Football.
Cricket.
Cricket. Football team?
Liverpool.
Oh, I knew it. I just knew it. I'm a Manchester United fan here. Cricket team Bangladesh?
I couldn't care less.
You That's literally. But you Pakistan? Are you Pakistan sport? Pakistan?
Definitely.
Definitely. Even though they're absolutely rubbish, but okay. Final question: Pulao or biryani?
Pilau.
Huh? Pulao.
Yeah.
No, biryani.
Biryani.
I prefer
Biryani,
curry
okay.
as well, though.
A follow-up question to that: meat or chicken? Pulao or biryani?
Meat.
Meat. Okay, we've got meat lovers here, mashallah. So, alhamdulillah, I think that's everyone loosened up. So it's
Yeah,
brilliant,
that's-
fantastic. Just something to get everyone a bit more relaxed in front of camera. Brother Ilyas, mashallah, so you've mentioned since 2008. That's a solid 16 years, alhamdulillah, that the project or the organization has been established. Could you give us a little bit brief about Newham Community Project, what you are and what kind of works that you guys are engulfed in?
Yeah,
Inshallah?
sure. So in 2000, so I basically been working in the community more or less since I was 16.
Mashallah.
Right. I've always had a passion to help out.
Where's the passion come from? Is
I think
that
it's from my father.
from your father?
From
Mashallah.
my father, he's always been sort of that community worker. When he came to England, basically everybody used to come to him for help. you know.
Mashallah.
So and I saw that in my dad, and
It's a brilliant trait to pick up from him as well.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. And then that's where it came from. I always wanted to serve, always wanted to do things. So in 2008, I mean, I was doing things before then, but in 2008, I decided to go more formal, basically. So we decided to set up a charity, and then that mainly was going to be focused on young people.
Okay.
So this charity Newham Community Project, initially focusing on young people, the youth. So we set up the first Newham Muslim Scout group in Newham, basically.
Newham
which is
7th, I
the
believe.
7th Newham Salam, which is alhamdulillah still running.
Mhm.
We've got over 500 children on the waiting list. So when you open your group here in Minhaj al-Quran, inshallah,
Inshallah.
we'll send
Those
most of our
ones-
kids.
most of your kids.
You,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we're not going to have an issue in terms
you will
waiting
not
list or
have an
something like
issue.
that.
Basically, it will fill up in day one. As soon as you
Mashallah.
put your application
That's
out,
very, very positive.
there's
to hear.
such a big demand out there for scouting amongst the Muslim community.
So, there's a lot of people, even when we're approaching parents, in brief, what is the advantages of running these scouts? What do you
Well,
feel
it's-
as the advantage, as for the kids and for the parents?
it makes a person a well-rounded person, basically. When they grow up, you see, when a lot of the times when we were young, we were at a disadvantage because unfortunately our parents didn't give us the opportunity. It was difficult for them.
Yeah, the
Right.
times were different as well.
There was no such thing as hiking. There was no such thing as camping. There was
Mhm.
no such thing as canoeing and that. Now we didn't get that opportunity.
Mhm.
Whereas, when we compete, whereas our basically the white kids,
Mhm.
they had the opportunity. So they had that upper end, the advantage basically, because it makes a person think like that. It gives you the confidence, and it does help basically. So scouting is all about being independent and being confident, doing things, yourself, taking the initiative and doing volunteering. So it's really, really important that our children basically takes part in not necessarily scouting, but similar activities to that.
So Newham Community Project started as your just solely as scouts, and then how has it evolved?
Scouting and then basically we were doing other stuff, youth work and some work on drugs and things like that. But we really took off in 2020 during the pandemic, when we saw that, hang on, there's something not right here, where there was people basically. I'll give you an example. I'll give you my story. What happened was, so I was going for we're talking about April time, in the month of Ramadan, and
is this 2020? So in the
2020,
middle of the lockdown.
We were in lockdown.
Yeah, everything was closed. The masjids were closed. Everything
was closed, and I was going for my morning walk to the park. Basically, no, afternoon walk.
I hope you were social distancing at the time.
Yeah. So I came across, well, two brothers, basically young boys. They approached me and they said, "Look, we don't have anything to eat. Can you help us?" "What do you mean you don't have anything to eat?" So look, we're fasting. We've got no money. We've got no food in the house. Would you be able to help us? So I asked them, why? What's the problem? And they look like, mashallah, do you understand? Just like me and you. You think you would never
suspect it. Yeah.
Exactly, that they will not, there'd be something dodgy there. So they said, look, we came from India about a month ago. We're students. We came about a month ago. We haven't even enrolled at the university. All of a sudden, the lockdown came. We came with nothing, hoping that we were going to get into jobs straight away. We don't have any funds, nothing at all. In fact, our parents back home, they're in a worse situation than us.
They're probably expecting them to send them money.
Exactly. You understand?
You can't
so
be
now
asking
there's 8 of us in the house. We're all in the same boat. We don't have any food. All we're asking is just send us some food. Give us some money for the food, or just send in some food. So I said, okay, fine, hang on. What I'll do is in the evening, I'll cook some for you. You can come and collect it, or I can drop it off. So basically in the evening, they came, collected the food and that. And then the next day I went to see them.
Mashallah.
So obviously I saw how they were living, and everybody's basically the same story, same book. So I gave them my number. I said, look, this is my number. If you've got any issues, I gave them some money basically, to buy food and that. And then I gave them my number. So look, if you've got any issues or whatever, just contact me. Next thing I know, oh gosh, man, my phone was flooded with WhatsApp messages asking for help.
Oh,
hundreds and hundreds of them. Not just here in Newham, all over the country.
Crazy.
Yeah, because remember, these are students, yeah? A lot of them came in the March intake. And basically...
So it's literally their first month in the country.
Their first time ever out of the country. First time ever. They've never been out of India or Bangladesh or Pakistan.
It's just crazy.
Right? And it's just coming here, and all of a sudden, they're just stuck. They've got nowhere to go, no one to turn to. They don't know what's going on. Do you understand? So
a lot of these people, if people go back, a lot of people that were even sat at home, they were on furlough. So these guys weren't working, so there was no furlough for them.
There was no furlough, nothing for them. Not only that, brother, the sad thing is, you've got the landlords.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And you know what? Apne wale landlords. We're not even talking. Wallahi, when you talk about landlords, I'm talking about apne wale landlords, Muslim landlords, putting pressure on them to pay rents. Even then the government said, look, you can't kick them out, you can't, evict them or whatever with a certain time. They were being evicted.
The mental stress of that as well.
And another thing, getting letters and emails from the university.
Yeah.
The universities were actually chasing them for money, saying, if you don't pay, we're going to send you back home. This was during the pandemic. So imagine they'd only just come, they hadn't even enrolled, and this was happening to them.
Assault from all sides, really.
Everything, and so I just got messages, this is happening to us, please help us, we haven't had anything to eat, this, that. what's going on? What
But
have I,
it was
what have I
one
got my-
good deed that
what
you've
have I
done,
got
and
myself
you just
into,
opened
man?
up.
This is
Yeah.
crazy. This is madness.
Mhm.
You know, but that's how it started. So
Mashallah.
then I helped. Basically, we started. The food bank was already running from Ibrahim Masjid.
Yes.
We started giving the donations to them, buying food for them and that.
Mhm.
And then we started.
This is still running till date. I
It's
think
still
as well,
doing.
yeah.
It's still Ibrahim Masjid is still running. And then we basically started with cooked meals, ready meals for Ramadan.
Mhm.
Provided that. And then we set up a food bank on Catherine Road, basically in Newham.
Mhm.
And since then,
Just on the
it's-
corner of Plashet Grove, isn't it?
That's right. Yes,
That's
yes.
the one, yeah.
So since basically that's been running since the pandemic.
Mhm.
Now it's more focused on not students, but it's more focused on families with no recourse to public funds. So basically, people who are overstayers,
Mhm.
they've got no documents,
Mhm.
you know, having issues. But so every single one of the people that we serve at the food bank have no recourse to public funds. So
Wow.
they're not entitled to any
Anything,
government finance, government help. You know, they're basically on their own.
So, you know, how do I put this question? Obviously, the other two guests are more than welcome to come in. At the time when the pandemic hit and everyone was told to stay at home, everyone was speaking about, wow, the government's doing so much for everybody. You know, everyone's getting furlough payments. You know, they're very worried about everyone's health. Everyone needs to stay at home. We need to protect the virus, etc., etc., etc. But we can see that once everything opened back up, everything got very expensive. Cost of living crisis. It felt like austerity Mark II. So how does that link in with how you are hoping? Because I'm
So
sure you're
you're-
hearing even horror stories after the.
So you're right. So in during the pandemic, basically there was hope. People had hope. They were in a bad way, but they had hope.
Mhm.
God, we're going to come out of this. We're going to find a job.
Mhm.
You know, we'll be able to do things. We'll be able to afford things and whatever. Yeah. Since the pandemic, right, things have got much worse.
Much worse.
Right. So we saw just after the pandemic ended, basically people went back to work. They stopped coming to the food bank. In the last 6 months, we've seen those people come back to the food bank.
So at your peak, how many people in the pandemic? How many people
In
were
the
you
peak,
serving?
we were serving 3,000 students per week.
3,000.
3,000.
And how many days was the food
We
bank
had
running?
a food bank on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 4 days. And we had different
Subhanallah.
sets coming in every day.
Wow.
And we used to start serving at 6 in the morning, 6 in the evening, and used to come. You used to go home around about 1 or 2 in the morning.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners can vouch for it as well. My route to work is driving past Catherine Road. That line, it just gradually got bigger and bigger and bigger. It used to go all the way up to that disused petrol station.
That's right, all the way around.
All the way around into
all
the
the way
side
around.
streets. I don't know that
Yes.
side street's name.
Well,
but
it started going now. It started doing that now again.
again.
And at this moment, we're only serving families, not individuals.
Wow.
Right, I'll give you an example. Last week we served 360 people. Out of that, 280 were families. Muslims. Families, we're talking families, not individuals. So we're talking over 1,000 individuals that we served just last week.
Subhanallah.
And every single one of them have no recourse to public funds. Every single one of them are struggling.
And are they all Newham based?
All the majority are in Newham, some Redbridge, some Leighton,
But neighbouring boroughs.
90% are Newham based. And I can vouch every single one are struggling because we have each and every person's data.
Subhanallah.
We have how many kids they have, what work they've got, how much money they have, everything basically. We've got a database of the lot.
Subhanallah. So if I could get the other guests to come in terms of your food bank, what are you actually providing inside the food bank? What items are provided to the individuals that are coming? Or but
I think Rosina and Ismail, they don't normally work in the food bank.
Okay.
Rosina, basically, you can tell.
Seeing obviously the growth in the number of people that need the food bank, we know our food bank is successful when our queues start going down. And to help people we offer a lot of projects. At the moment, we have over 14 projects running.
MashaAllah.
And one of them, so as a trauma-informed and mental health practitioner, one of the first things I did back in 2020 was to put together a team that could support people with no recourse to public funds, because waiting lists for mental well-being counselling services were going exceeding like 18 months. And people just didn't have the time. So we put that together. We offer employability classes, workshops. We offer life skills. We help people basically back on their feet so that they can start providing for themselves. But even when we provide workshops, we are still giving them access to the food bank so they can concentrate on sort of getting out of that immediate financial, economic
So that's how we
challenges.
get them to come to the workshop. So they'll have their employability workshop or English speaking workshop, but we will make, we'll give them food at the same time.
MashaAllah.
So we don't
You know.
make them dependent on the food bank. So they're not dependent so that they think that, okay, this food bank's forever, I never need to do anything.
Of
We
course.
make sure that they come out of that bubble and start improving, not only with education, but with a lot of other problems. Our latest project this year that we just launched is IMRA, is to support survivors, basically, and victims of domestic violence and other violence and
MashaAllah.
sexual offences.
Fantastic.
So we have a women's hub for that as well. And then the GLEAS, drug curtailment and supporting ethnic minority families.
Ismail can talk about
We're
that.
going to definitely come to that because that's a brilliant factor. In terms of, in terms of the food bank itself, are you providing hot food or is
so
it?
basically, so what
is it
happens
like
with the food
packages?
bank? So we support them. We provide a week's supply of groceries.
Okay,
Right.
mashallah.
Not only that, we're probably the only food bank that provides nappies
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
and baby milk.
So toiletries.
So
as
what
well,
we
then.
saw, what we've been seeing is basically we never used to provide nappies. We never used to provide baby milk. It's expensive, right? But what we saw is basically babies going into hospital A&E because of nappy rash, right? Because obviously it's
Parents can't
expensive.
afford
They
it,
can't
yeah.
afford nappies and that, and parents basically watering down the powdered baby milk.
Yeah, so we have a baby bank. Not only is it the nappies and the milk, but we also provide pushchairs, cots. So babies were having to sleep on beds, which was safety risks. So we
course, yeah.
provide all baby essentials that they need. Maternity bag. We also, another project that's launched this year was our perinatal project. So many of the women, pregnant ladies, they have no family here, they don't have no friends, they don't know how the system works. So we help them through their pregnancy and when they've had the baby as well, help them parents bond with their baby.
So
And then-
that particular project is really important. There's a lot of, when you're expecting, you've got help from your parents, right? They'll help you and
Grandparents,
guide you on
Culturally
that.
appropriate.
Unfortunately, they're the first generation in this country. They don't have any support. They're on their own.
Exactly.
Do you understand? So that kind of support where we can come along and they trust us, so that's really, really important. Really important, basically. It's one of the, alhamdulillah, this project is we haven't started it yet. We will be starting, but we've had lots of people basically enroll on it.
Mashallah. One thing I'd like to obviously find out is your project's expanding, mashallah. Sorry, Baji,
I
please.
was just going to add about the food bank. So the food we give is not just your everyday milk, butter, and everything. We give culturally appropriate food, and a lot of the food banks don't do that either. So we make
in
sure.
Ramadan, just the chicken shop. I think we've spent about £6,000 just on chickens. It's going to be the bill is going to be just £6,000, probably just a bit more. That's just on chickens.
Wow.
Right, that's just meat.
Is that
We're
in a
talking
week?
about
Was that in a week?
no, a month.
A month.
Yeah. So, but we talk. That's not include vegetables, fruits. Everything else basically.
We need our
crazy amounts.
spices. We need our masala to cook.
Of course,
we need
yeah.
our tomatoes to cook. Everything you need
So it's
to make
culturally
a-
appropriate, as you mentioned.
make a
No, we don't know. Some people say that
rice, oil.
Unfortunately thing is, a lot of people they think, hang on, why is there a need here? You know, within the UK, like, how is there such a need? What I tell them is, I mean, I've got a friend of mine, he's a banker, you know, and he's on mega salary.
Mashallah.
And he's actually, one day he turns around and he said, Ilyas, is there really need for a food bank? I said, brother, why don't you just come and meet some of the people that we serve? Just meet them, talk to them for 5 minutes. Then you will understand what the situation is. You know, because you will never understand until we've actually met someone in that situation. Alhamdulillah, we are privileged. Our parents being here so many years ago, you know, and we've had more or less everything on a plate.
Of course.
And
Brother
Brother
Ismail.
Omar was saying something earlier about the support the government provided during the pandemic. And it ties to what Brother Ilyas was saying earlier. Not everybody benefited from the furlough scheme, for example, because in our community, especially in and around Newham, you'd have a lot of people working in the informal sector of the economy. I mean, yeah, and brothers and sisters would know. I mean, you go Green Street, how many of the sisters working on those shops?
Of course,
They are working on an eye, or go through various different places within Newham. You'd see that these people are working below minimum wage. So about 20% of the people working in Newham don't.
A lot of them were on cash in hand,
Yeah,
probably
cash in
as
hand.
well. Yeah.
They either don't have the skills, or they're in such a disadvantaged position that they're not able to get jobs that would come with the level of security that was required when the government introduced the furlough scheme. So even then, we had significant disadvantage for some of the people who were already most vulnerable. So the government had a scheme in place, but a lot of the people who desperately needed it weren't eligible for it. That's the starting disadvantage for the people during the pandemic. And then you had lots of other issues that piled up. Our sister Rosina can say more about the mental health issues that we've seen surge within the community.
I'm just going to give you some numbers.
Please do.
Well, yeah, basically, so in the past month alone, right? In the past month alone, we have dealt with 12 illegal evictions. 12 families just being booted out. Landlord comes in. So I'll tell you what's happening. The rents have gone just
skyrocketed.
Yeah. And we are dealing with just apne wale landlords, right? Muslim landlords mainly. No one of a lie, brother. Yeah, this is so sad. This is just like, heartbreaking. Yeah. They will turn around one day, go to the tenant and say, look, we're going to increase your rent. From next week, we're going to increase it to £500. Right, or we're going to increase it to £200. Just random numbers, because they know at the moment, right, it's so difficult for these are vulnerable people, vulnerable families. Yeah, they've got kids, right? Nobody's they're gonna find it very difficult to get accommodation. Right?
Oh yeah, it's very tough at the moment even to find accommodation.
Just for accommodation alone, the agents are asking for £70,000-80,000, basically their salary.
Wow.
Do you understand? It's just like getting a mortgage, right?
Crazy,
so these people, they will very difficult to get accommodation, and all of them, they're living in overcrowded housing. So they'll have one room, right? In that one room, they'll have their 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids.
It's not.
And they'll all be sharing that one room. They'll share the kitchen with other families. We've seen where, on average, we'll have 20, 25 people living in a house. Right? Maybe sometimes just one toilet. Maybe if they're lucky, they'll have 2 bathrooms. Right?
It's not sustainable, yeah.
So fire safety, health safety. It's just so many issues there, basically. Mental health, where the woman is just sat at home with the children on her own whilst the husband is out to work. Bichari, she's got nowhere to go.
She can't do anything. Yeah.
You understand? One of the things what we started giving pushchairs, right? Well, this is, I'm not, people think I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. One of the reasons why we started giving pushchairs, because some of these girls or these families, they couldn't afford to buy pushchairs. And because of that, they couldn't go out the house. They couldn't come to the food bank. They couldn't go to the park. They couldn't do this. They couldn't do that. We made sure that everybody who's basically expecting a baby or who hasn't had one, basically we'll give them a pushchair.
Mashallah.
Just for that reason alone.
So in terms of, obviously you might not be able to go into specific numbers, but how many people are you serving right now, would you say? And what is your monthly cost? You've just said £6,000. This has knocked me for 6, literally.
Yeah,
for chicken. That's just chicken.
For meat shopping.
That's just one item.
Yeah.
So
we basically, so I'm going to just tell you what we've done in the past month.
Sure.
Right, this is just basically, so in the 12 illegal evictions, we've helped families get into another accommodation. How we do that? And a lot of the time, they won't get their deposits back.
Yes.
Yeah, 90% of the time, they will not get their deposit back. So what do we have to do? We have to come in, pay the deposit for them to get another house.
And they don't
Right?
get notice.
As I tell you
either.
what, they won't get any help from the council.
Oh yeah.
Like they won't,
No
because
recourse to public funds.
Exactly, and they can't go to the council because they're scared themselves. You understand?
Fear of
So
eviction.
the only people that they can come
deportation.
to is us. We are based, and they trust us. The main thing is,
Alhamdulillah.
alhamdulillah, they trust us. You know, and we'll go out our way to help them. So 12 evictions, 8 out of the 12, 8 cases of deposit not being returned.
Wow.
Right? That's a lot of money for them, Baba.
That is,
Lot of money, you know. 7, and there was 7 cases where a solicitor has taken money and hasn't done what they're supposed to do. Right? This is so. This is normal, Baba.
solicitors.
And what happens is, I'll tell you what happened. A lot of the time, the solicitor come, yeah, of course I can do this for you. Of course I can do that for you. I'm putting an application to the Home Office. Do you understand? But you know what? Let's set up an email address for you. Yeah. So he'll set up an email address. The family haven't got a clue what's going on with the Home Office. All the emails are coming to the solicitor, right? And the solicitor, what he's doing is he's milking the family every month or every other month. Oh, I need another £200. I need another £300.
No,
and nothing's been done. Nothing. We had 7 cases like that. That's just in the last month. Imagine how many out there, right? 12 cases where the employer has not paid the workers. 12. All Muslim. Not paid. Well, I'd understand they were earning thousands of pounds. They're earning £5-6 an hour. Yeah, they won't pay them lunch. And sometimes they're going to work. Oh, sorry, we've got no work for you. Go back home. Right? He's bichara spent £2 or something on the bus fare, right, to come to work. Right? That £2 is a lot of money for them. Right? He's going to work. So employers tell him, saying, "Got no job for you. Go back home."
You have to spend again that £2 to get back home now.
Go back home. But on 12 cases, employer hadn't paid their wages
because they're working a lot of the times informally, maybe cash in hand, or they don't know what the laws are, or
they know. There's only so much they can do. You know, they can keep asking, begging. But you know, and the number of sisters have been abused at work in these very takeaways. Excuse my language, right? And places like that because they've been taken advantage. And I can name and shame, but I don't want to do that.
No, it's very
because the more vulnerable you are, unfortunately,
the more susceptible you are.
Exactly, and the people who take advantage is upgrade people taking advantage of upgrade people. That's the sad thing.
Yes, there's a bitter reality behind that, isn't it? That's the truth.
It's like it's really sad. But you see, we used to hear stories about our elders who came to the UK in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and they had a heart, and they always used to tell us, you know, back in our days we used to go to school like this and we had difficulties like this. Some of the difficulties they faced when they moved to the UK, we're seeing this repeat itself. So Brother Ilyas was saying earlier about overcrowded homes. We deal with situations where you know, somebody comes to us and they're living, there are 22 people. Recently a guy came in, a young person, 22 people staying in a 3-bedroom house. And every tiny space of the house, including the passages, being used, is rented out, and it's like it's shifted. So you know that there are guys who are working nights and they sleep during the day, and then they go to work.
I remember our parents telling us that.
Yes,
in the 60s, and
yeah.
You know,
so this comes back to me every time I hear that this is happening again. But it's happening right now again. Some people would be really, really surprised, like unbelievable. How could something like this happen? It's happening. I mean, you probably don't see it, but it's happening right in front of your eyes more often than you know. So this is the kind of struggle that we see people going through.
SubhanAllah. Brothers, I just want to take the discussion a bit forward. So, like I mentioned previously, your organization. So the donations that you receive, are they zakat eligible?
So yeah, they're zakat eligible because we are supporting. Last week alone, we said we had 280 families.
Mashallah.
right?
So it's
A
over
lot of this-
1,000 people. If on average, if it's 4 to a family, that's over
Yes,
1,000
yes, yeah,
people.
over 1,000 people we're talking about, right? So we actually give them zakat as well. You know, physically
Mashallah.
we give them money basically. You know, so they can then. I mean, on this month, inshallah, we'll be giving them at least 40,000 pounds in zakat. Inshallah, we're hoping to do that. But you know, when we're talking about people coming to the food bank, yeah, food basically is just one of their issues. They'll come, they'll open up with lots of other issues as well.
Yes.
You know, they come to the food bank, and then we'll have a chat with them, and they'll come up with lots of other problems. You know, like depression,
And that's how
suicide. A lot of them have.
That's how the casework team came in, isn't it?
Yeah.
So in around 2000, when we had the spikes following COVID, food is obviously one of those essential things that people need.
Of course.
But once you have a chat with people, you realize there are other problems that they're facing that needs urgent fix, or someone to look into. And Brother Ilyas mentioned, there's a list here: debt, physical violence, people facing mental health issues. We had lots of students having issues with universities, and Sister Rosina can say more about.
It's actually not just students that we support. So anybody with no recourse to public funds. In the last 6 months, we've supported a lot of refugees and migrants, especially in and around the hotels. They're not allowed to work. They come over in traumatic situations. Recently, there was a Metro newspaper did an article on one of our beneficiaries as well. But these families, they receive £8 per person per week, because the government dropped it from £12, and that's all they have. And they're given their groceries, but like, for example, they're given a bottle of fairy liquid, which they expected to use for their washing dishes and their clothes and for bathing in. So, you know, things like this, we're supporting those families as well, giving them life skills, helping them. We don't just offer one-to-one counseling. We do support work where we're running workshops, calm workshops, how to overcome your
I'm
own.
proud to say we like a family to them.
Mashallah.
You know?
So
Many of them
they
have
can
actually
ring us
messaged
up
this
anytime,
Ramadan.
text us, WhatsApp. You know, it's basically it's a family.
Alhamdulillah. So, you know,
They do say you're the only family we have.
mashallah. So that was my question, but I think you pretty much answered it yourself. You know, you're doing so much. I think a lot of these things have they've been established because of the need that you're seeing when you're dealing with them on a face-to-face basis.
So when they come to the food bank, we learn about the wider problems.
Of course,
and
it's
then
not just the
obviously
hunger.
that wraparound service, we direct it at the people, at the need of the people. And especially in the London Borough of Newham, which is the most diverse area now in England and Wales.
One of the most deprived as well, yes.
One of the most diverse. I think it's third in deprivation, and over 10% can't speak English.
SubhanAllah. And in terms of your food bank and the shopping, are you guys basically purchasing all the items yourself? Is there a lot of donations coming in?
We run in partnership with Newham Council.
Brilliant.
So Newham, what happens is basically Newham Council through Phoenix, they provide us with about 20%, 15 to 20%
Okay.
of food per week.
Okay.
The rest we basically will get donated or we go and buy.
You'll source yourself.
So that basically the nappies and baby milk we'll always go and buy.
Okay.
Right. So that bill alone, nappies and baby milk, we're probably talking about £3,500 a month.
Wow.
Right. That's the nappies and baby milk. Right. And then we've got the fresh fruit, vegetables, things like that. We don't give them tin soup. We don't have, ourselves. I've never had tin soup. We don't expect them to have tin
So you'd only give to them what you would have yourself.
Yeah,
Alhamdulillah.
Of course. Otherwise, what's the point?
What is the point? Yeah.
What is the point
It's a
of doing?
tick box exercise then, really. Yeah.
You know.
Alhamdulillah. That's fantastic. It's fantastic. No.
So we recently did a survey on the people that come to us. Basically, on average, they paid £950 accommodation per month.
And these are rooms. Yeah. These are
Just
rooms.
room.
Yeah. These aren't houses.
Right?
Yeah.
These are houses.
Not
This
the
is just
flats.
one room,
Yeah.
Right. Average earnings £1,520. Average. Yeah. So out of that, they paid £1,000.
Rent. Then
Just rent. Then they've got to pay the meter where they have the electricity and gas.
Okay.
That's
Gas
not
electric.
included.
Mhm.
Right. Then they've got to pay. Usually, then
Travel to work, coming
travel to
back from
and
work.
that. Not only that, but every single one of them, their families rely on their back home.
Of course.
What's happened is a lot of them they come here with huge debts. They borrow money from back home, hoping that they'll come here, they'll work and they'll pay it back. Some of them have borrowed from loan sharks, right? So they've got to pay them back home in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, whatever. Because these loan sharks are nasty. They
Yeah,
go
of
around
course.
to your
Families.
parents, and in those countries there's no protection.
Of course.
Right? So they'll go to their parents and whatever and harass them. So they've got to pay for that. And then they've got to pay for the bills here and that. So this is the reason why it's so important that what we are doing is just for them. For us, for me and you, it might be small. It might be 20, 35, 40 pounds worth of food. But for them,
It's a lifesaver.
Exactly.
Subhanallah. Brothers and sisters, thank you very much. I hope everyone is enjoying this conversation. I'm really, really thankful for the Newham Community Project that are here. Please do go and visit their website. If you want to donate to this fantastic cause, you're more than welcome to go to their website. We will provide you all their socials at the end of the show. We're going to take a short break. As I say to all my guests, time actually flies when we're having a good conversation. We've only got about 20 to 25 minutes left. And Brother Ilyas was quite adamant he wanted to speak about this particular project. So we will be speaking about the Taqlis project after the break. We're not going to go for too long. Can you please do join us after this short break? Thank you very much.
पानी के बगैर जिंदगी का तस्वुर नामुमकिन है। दुनिया भर में तकरीबन 2 अरब से ज्यादा लोग ऐसे हैं जिनको पीने का साफ और महफूज पानी मुयस्सर नहीं। रोजमर्रा के इस्तेमाल के साथ साथ पीने के लिए इन्हें आलूदा पानी पर इन्हिसार करना पड़ता है, जिसकी वजह से बच्चे या बड़े सब मुख्तलिफ बीमारियों का शिकार हो जाते हैं जो अक्सर जानलेवा साबित होती हैं। इस रमजान मुबारक मिनहाज वेलफेयर फाउंडेशन की वाटर फॉर ऑल अपील का हिस्सा बनिए। आप सिर्फ 180 पाउंड से एक छोटा हैंडपंप नस्ब कर सकते हैं जो 15 खानदानों को साफ पानी उनकी दहलीज पर मुहैया करते हैं। नस्बशुदा हैंडपंप की रिपोर्ट और दीगर तफसीलात डोनर को मुहैया कर दी जाती हैं ताकि वो जान सके कि उनकी अमानत हकदारों तक मुहैया कर दी गई है। मिनहाज वेलफेयर फाउंडेशन को अपनी ज़कात, सदका या खैराती अतियात देने के लिए अपने मकामी MWF ऑफिस 12 कार रोड, नेल्सन, BB9 7JS तशरीफ लाएं। हमें 01282 723 455 पर कॉल करें या हमारी वेबसाइट www.minhajwelfare.org पर देखें। ताज़ा तरीन वीडियोस और अपडेट्स के लिए फेसबुक, Instagram और Twitter पर जुड़े रहें।
Thinking of selling or letting your property? Need someone reliable to find the best prospect for your home? Well, look no further. Cameron Adams is here to take care of all your needs. Our professional and experienced team will guide you through the entire process and ensure you find the right client for your property. For a no obligation quotation, contact us now on 0208 558 2000. That's 0208 558 2000. Or visit us at 30 Church Lane in Leytonstone. Cameron Adams, always at your service.
Thinking about selling or letting your home? With Maxwell Estates, you don't need to look any further. Well established with over 15 years of experience, Maxwell Estates are specialists in residential sales and lettings. We manage over 200 properties in and around Northwest London, keeping our landlords and tenants updated with all the latest.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear brothers and sisters listening to us on the radio on ReviveFM 94.0. Assalamu alaikum. My salam to all the brothers and sisters that are watching on YouTube and Facebook. We've got some fantastic guests that we've been speaking to for the last 35 minutes on the food bank that they run. Newham Community Project. Do you want to give the website and the socials, brother Ismail?
NewhamCommunityProject.org.
Yes.
NewhamCommunityProject.org. So if anyone was to just Google Newham Community Project, it's the first website that comes up. On there, you can. You
can find us on Instagram, Newham Community Project, LinkedIn, and Twitter. But I think it's called X now.
It's called X now. Yeah. That's correct. So you can go on there. You can see the fantastic work that we've obviously we started with the food bank. There's so many offshoots from the food bank that this organization is doing. So I would request for you to go there, support them, even donate towards them. This is a fantastic cause. Like the brother was saying, even in the break we were speaking, a lot of people are actually eligible for zakat in this country, but we have this mindset that zakat is only eligible for people living in third world countries. This literally isn't the case. And there's a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well, that a good neighbor is the one that knows what is going on around 40 houses on the left, on the right. But unfortunately, we don't know what's going on in the fourth house from where we reside. So we should obviously reflect on this as well. Time is of the essence. I've got our main guest, brother Elias, needs to leave shortly as well. So we do need to discuss this other project that we did discuss previously as well in the mosque.
Yes.
But we will go into this. This is a fantastic project, and all the local masajids and all the mosques and organizations, they should really get involved with this project. But I won't go into detail. I'll hand over to brother Ismail and Baji Rosina to actually discuss taqlis. What is taqlis?
So taqlis.
Okay, can I ask what does taqlis mean? Because it's a fantastic name, alhamdulillah.
It means reduction.
Okay, mashallah.
Curtailment in Arabic and Persian.
Mashallah. And what is taqlis?
Taqlis is the name of our project. Is for drug support, basically support ethnic minority families and drug users. We established it. It's been a couple of years now.
Yeah, I think we should give Newham Council a shout, because they are the one who's.
So originally, with the now people powered places, it used to be community assemblies, and we went to them. We told them we were seeing this growing problem. We put our proposal to them. It was accepted, and they kick-started the Taqlis, which was then supported by Islamic Relief UK and is now being funded by other partners.
Mashallah.
So it's established to address the growing prevalence of drug use within ethnic minority communities. In 2021, the government, they put over £3 billion into drug support, but the All Parliamentary Group shared data to suggest that 92% of those people were white. So when you have diverse communities like the London Borough of Newham, that 3 billion wasn't really helping, not over the next 3 months, let alone 3 years. So then we...
No, that's fine. But Rosina, she stopped, she paused there for you to just take it, but you didn't take it.
Sister Rosina. So, I mean, the strategy the government has to tackle with the issue of drug abuse, it's not working. It's the approach, it's literally not working. They're spending lots of money.
What is their approach where you feel like it's not sufficient, or
Well,
it's not
working in our community.
In our community.
For our community.
I mean, overall in the UK, it's not working, but specifically in our community, it's not working, because there is this divide between the people who are struggling with drugs misuse and the families and the communities around them and the support that's available. We believe that the support should be bottom up. People from the communities themselves should come up with solutions that would work for them, because people in the community know what the struggles they're facing. And for different communities, it might be slightly different, and the strategies might have to be a little bit different. But in our community, we realize that it really has to come from people within, because there's no one that knows better the nature of the difficulties that we're facing except ourselves. And that's where Taqlis goes in. The issue is we need to reach out to the drug users through people who have similar understanding, whether it's religious or cultural or coming from the same backgrounds, growing up in the same neighborhood, that can connect with them.
In terms of the drugs, are you speaking about Class A drugs? Are you talking about prescription drugs? Are you talking about marijuana? Is it a mixture, spice? There's so many new things. We had the police here last week, and they basically bought a massive briefcase of, I don't know what, it just looked like airdrops to me, to be honest, but there's so many in the market now. Is there specifically what you're working on?
Obviously, when we're talking about drugs, people would usually think about the illegal drugs, the ones that are classified. It certainly includes those as well. However, we are also talking about other drugs that people usually take, but wouldn't really see that as a problem. Well, within our community, for example, we have people taking palm. you know, this,
Tobacco,
tobaccos and so on
yeah.
and so forth. People are smoking.
Mhm.
And lately we have issues of vaping as well.
Vaping,
which-
massive issue.
European
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Massive issue. Yeah.
These are also drugs that cause lots and lots of health issues, as well as financial difficulties, problem with people's relationships.
I think the issue with the vaping is that there's not even much empirical data to tell you what the long-term
No.
health risks are at the moment, because it's such a recent phenomenon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, lots of our sisters or our mothers, they would be taking palm, for example, and then we know that it's associated with cancer and lots of other health issues. And of course, I don't need to give an introduction about smoking tobacco. And like brother, you've mentioned, we are yet to see the effects of vaping because we don't have the data yet. So potentially we might have serious health issues coming up in the future. But the damage would already be done by that time it's discovered. But even now, we know that it does cause a lot of people with shortness of breath, for example. They have lots of other issues, dizziness, and there has been lots of health issues that we can already see. But within our community, we have those drugs that I've mentioned, but we've also had lots of brothers and even sisters having issues with illegal drugs. So we are talking about class A's and B's. We're also talking about cannabis and the drugs that people we wouldn't usually see as, not that harmful per se, like cannabis, for example. We underestimate the effect that they're having on us. We assume that whoever is taking the drugs, it's only their problem. But we often don't realize the wider societal issue they have. What happens to a family when a family is struggling with one member who's facing drugs issues?
Most of the referrals that we get are from families. Basically, they've got somebody in the family who's a drug user, and unfortunately, the whole family's being affected because of that.
So, because as a very closeted community, generally when it comes to these kind of issues, how are we tackling those sensitive issues and stuff like that? Because a lot of people, I don't think, like, we know what our Desi mothers are like. My son could never do this, and etc. etc.
I think families, especially mothers, are becoming more accepting that this is a problem, and if we don't deal with the problem, it's going to grow. So that stigmatization around back in the day where you couldn't tell your neighbors, you couldn't tell your family, it's still there, but now families are reaching out. So we've implemented like support services so they can come to us basically on a one-to-one, and we share with them culturally sensitive interventions that can actually help them. We also offer workshops where they can come and take advice. So it might be a neighbor, a nephew, a friend, or somebody in need, and they want to get the right information before they actually reach out to the family in need.
MashaAllah. And in terms of the family and getting involved, how are you approaching these people? Are they coming mainly to workshops, or are you even having that blowback from the individual when you're approaching them, even if a family member has referred them? It's very sensitive, isn't it?
It is, yes, absolutely. And our support service reflects that. I mean, there is no one fix.
Of course, yeah.
Different individuals would have to be approached differently, and we have to be very, very careful and sensitive about it. We try to learn as much as we can from the drug abuser, the family, to see how it would be best. It's tailored to the needs of the family. So sometimes it may involve communicating directly with the family, with the drug user, putting them together and having a chat with them. But if we realize that that's not the best approach, then we offer a much more discreet service. So somebody might come to us and say, look, I'm struggling with this. My family doesn't know about it. I would like this to stay like this. I mean, of course, we would absolutely respect people's confidentiality and so on within the confinement of the law, of course. So we would approach this differently. If a brother's family comes in and say, my son is struggling with this and my daughter is struggling with this, and the brother is happy for us to be having a discussion with his family while he is present, that's also offered. We also make referrals to other partner organizations who would be able to provide support much more specialized than we are. And we are working with other organizations. One of them would be CGL.
Who came last
CGL,
week?
yeah.
I think they came.
There last week they were
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
So
yeah.
normally it would be one family member that would approach us and say, this is the problem.
Mhm.
So we'll support that one family member until they're ready to bring the rest of the family in.
Mhm.
And then we'll slowly support the others. So if they want family support, we offer that. And if they want individual support for each family member, we can support
So
them
for
there as
instance,
well.
when you're bringing them in, is that like yourselves going to their home, or they're coming to your workshops?
We do
Or
both. We do offer home visits as well,
okay,
especially
Especially if there's sisters.
yes,
If there's
of
sisters
course.
involved, then they.
Of course, it's better to
Yeah.
keep it within the house. Just generally, I think it's a very, very important topic. And I in terms of the outreach work, are you working with local organizations, mosques? How are you getting your word out for this? Because I think it's a very important project that should be mainstream. It really should be mainstream.
Yes, I mean, one of the aim is to, I mean, one of the things that I've realized personally working in this project is that whenever we're speaking to Muslim families, for example, that we've classified harams in different ways. Certain haram is acceptable, certain haram isn't. Like, for example, we know, I mean the fatwa is, I obviously I'm not a scholar at all, but as far as I'm concerned, the fatwa is that drinking alcohol is haram, taking cannabis is haram, tobacco is haram, and all of these things are haram, full stop. But we have tobacco is acceptable, but drinking is not really. We have certain other things that are clearly haram that's acceptable. So it's about breaking that misunderstanding. I mean, if it's haram, then we need to accept that it's haram. So many of the times we see the brothers are dealing in drugs, and then they're providing for their family. And, you know, we don't, some people don't have issues with that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a haram income, but somewhat it's acceptable than, for example, somebody who's doing something else. That's haram. So breaking this kind of barrier is one of the things that we're trying to do. When we are reaching out to the community, we're basically trying to say that, look, that's not acceptable in any standard. And when you have an issue, we must do something about it to resolve it. We are reaching out to masjids.
MashaAllah.
So we've been reaching out to masjids across Newham, speaking with them. Our aim is to use the community, established community that every masjid has, masjids have in Newham, to reach out to Muslims and say that, look, this is an issue. It's wreaking havoc in our community. It's wreaking havoc between husband and wives, between parents and children, between extended family, between the interaction the person has with his own community.
Mhm.
The effect is so huge, but it's not often realized. So the one of the aim is to basically present the statistics to people. Like I said, this is what's happening. And that's the long-term effect of this. If you continue down this path of taking drugs, you're going to become broke, you're going to have relationship issues. And in 5-10 years' time, when you're going to realize that you made a mistake, it's going to be too late to rectify.
Of course.
And that's where we are reaching out to the imams, the community leaders, because they're the trusted ones among us. And when they say something, brothers and sisters, they tend to listen more attentively. And we're trying to utilize this this energy that we have in the community. We're trying to utilize this voice to basically amplify whatever we are trying to do.
MashaAllah. But in terms of the project itself,
One of
it's-
the biggest problems, this is actually a message to everybody out there that's listening, is one of the things that we tend to do is we start judging people, bad parenting, or, there has to be a problem with the wider family. That's why somebody in that family is taking drugs. And to support such things it's not good at all. So when you see somebody or somebody's child, rather than support them in a way that they can feel comfortable speaking out about their problem and trying to get the help they need, they're now pushed into this corner where they think that if I speak, my neighbors are going to hate me, my family's going to hate me, and basically they can't get help from anyone in fear of judgment.
it's become
South
very
Asian-
isolated then, isn't it?
Yeah, the South Asian families are not like a typical nuclear family. It's not husband, wife, and children.
Oh, it's
It's our husband, wife, aunts, uncles,
you
cousins.
marry the whole khandan when
Yeah,
you get married,
exactly.
isn't
The
it?
grandparents, everybody's involved. And in fear of anyone finding out, they don't get the help they need in time.
Just try to
it
sweep it
just
under the
grows,
carpet, and it just grows
and grows. Yeah, so I think parents need to be more understanding, and so do children.
Fantastic. But we're literally into our last few minutes. Could you provide the details for Taqlis if anybody is interested, how they can get involved?
The Taqlis website, so it's taqlis.org.
And that's TAQLIS.
Yes.
Taqlis.org. If anybody obviously is suffering or themselves on a personal journey, or any family member that's suffering from this, Newham Community Project and Taqlis are more than happy to get involved. Could you provide the number as well? Did you have a number?
Yes, you can take 07-535-652-755.
That's fine. Jazakallah khair. I wouldn't want to finish this brilliant discussion with the Newham Community Project without acknowledging the work of your volunteers, because mashallah, there's a lot of work that's being done, a lot of offshoots from where you initially started. Especially, I think the food bank is your hub, and everything shoots off that. How many volunteers do you have? Do you want to give a shout out to them? I'm sure they are listening. They deserve to be recognized as well.
We have a lot of volunteers in so many different areas, over 100. So we have the food bank team, who are doing exceptional work, especially in Ramadan. And then we have the baby bank team. And then for each of our projects, including the Taqlis, we also promote organ donation amongst ethnic minorities, working with NHS blood and transplant, because a third of the people, Asian people, it tends to be fatal whilst they're waiting for an organ donor. So all of the projects we're running, the employability, the life skills, IMRA, which is violence and sexual offences, supporting women, has its own team. Huge shout out to all of our volunteers.
Baji, the last project that you just mentioned, you didn't go into much detail with that. So would you mind giving us just a little bit of a breakdown on that particular project? I think it's very important within the community, again, within the South Asian community.
So this is one of the latest projects we started this year. A lot of women with no recourse to public funds specifically, they tend to have nowhere to turn. So they stay in violent marriages, for example, because if they leave their husband, they have nowhere to go. They can't work because they have young children, and the government won't support them because of their no recourse to public funds. But we also support other women, victims and survivors, and we are offering a leadership course to empower women, survivors and victims to help them come to terms and become survivors, and survivors to actually become empowered and lead, basically.
SubhanAllah, mashallah. Another fantastic project. Again, I think as we've discussed throughout the show, as you're providing a food bank and that counseling to these people, these kind of projects then come up when you realize that there's a lot of mental health issues people are having, sexual violence, etc., domestic violence that's happening in the household because of the circumstances. We unfortunately have pretty much come to the end of our show, but I would like to give the opportunity to Brother Ismail to obviously give a shout out to Newham Community Project, your website, all the work that you're doing, your volunteers. I'd like to give you the opportunity to do a shout out before we just close for Iftar, inshallah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Yeah, I mean, it's been a pleasure being here and speaking with, reaching out to the people in the community through a new platform. I just want to say to whoever may be listening is that we all have a role to play. I mean, it might be small, but we have a role to play. I mean, I don't foresee that I can change the world, but if there's a little thing I can do here and there, I would like to do that. And I would like to encourage others to do the same. If everyone did their bets, we would be in a better position than where we are now. and that's following the sunnah. I mean, if we can't do something completely, then not to leave it out completely either. Do the bit you can do, and inshallah somebody else will come and do the bit that you couldn't do. And that's what it is about. And alhamdulillah, Brother Ilyas has come a long way. And obviously me and Sister Rosina, we've been here over the last couple of years. We're doing the bit we can do, and everybody else got a role to play as well. And please make dua for us that Allah Azza wa Jal makes it easier for us to face the difficulties that we will be facing in the coming days and months and years, because we see that the challenges that people in the community are facing, it's not going away anywhere anytime soon.
Jazakallah. Thank you very much. And Sister Rosina, I'll give you the final word before we close.
Seeing as we're next door to the masjid, we need more masjids involved. We need more leaders involved. We need people to take responsibility. This is the ummah we're talking about. More people need to come on board and help support these people. They shouldn't just be referred to one organization.
Jazakallah khair. Again, I wish we would have had a lot longer. We will definitely be calling you back after Ramadan.
Inshallah.
We should do this more often.
Yeah.
We want to, the purpose of doing these iftar shows was to actually recognize the fantastic work that smaller organizations are doing in and around our community that don't sometimes get the recognition. So for all our viewers, I'm very, very thankful. I think we're literally into the last minute or two before iftar. But if you want to get further information, you're more than welcome to Google Newham Community Project or newhamcommunityproject.org, and you can get all the information of the work that they're doing. You can go into Taqlis, that's TAQLIS.org, for any issues in terms of drug addiction and weaning off drugs, or getting the support for the individual or for the families. Again, on top of Taqlis, they're doing fantastic work with scouts and women in health and after school clubs and DigiHub. So Newham Community Projects Zindabad, no doubt. Even if anyone wants to contribute towards zakat, because there's a lot of people that are zakat eligible within the UK, you are more than welcome to go onto their website and donate towards them. We are again very, very thankful. I'll get Baji, because I don't have it to here, to give the number out as well. Baji, if anybody's listening wants to note this down.
07535 652 755.
You know, repeat that one last time for me, because you didn't look very confident in that one.
No, 07535 652 755.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. I am very, very thankful for Newham Community Project for coming down. We will definitely continue this as a series further down the line. Everyone, please do. Baji's got one last thing to say. Please go ahead.
If you'd like to donate zakat, sadqa lillah, I'll give you another number.
Please go ahead.
07876 506 815.
Repeat one more time, please.
07876 506 815.
Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much. Google newhamcommunityproject.org, taqlis.org to get further information. Please enjoy your iftar. Please enjoy the rest of your Ramadan, and advance Eid Mubarak to you as well. Jazakallah khair. Keep it locked on Revive FM. Assalamu alaikum.
This iftari is sponsored by the Wahbeh restaurant in Gants Hill, Ilford, and Plashet Carpets in Upton Park.
اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم إني لك صمت وبك آمنت وعليك توكلت وعلى رزقك أفطرت. وصلى الله تعالى على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله في الأولين اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الآخرين اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا ومولانا محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد.
This iftari is sponsored by the Wahbe restaurant in Gants Hill, Ilford and Plashet Carpets in Upton Park.